People always ask us, did we have this vision for 25 years later? And I would say no. We just wanted to get through that first year. It was so exciting. God had given the vision, but getting through that first year was the major thing on our minds. In our wildest dreams, we might have thought, wow, what would 25 years look like? But it wasn't a major influence in our lives at that point.
Mm-hmm. The idea of Trinity started, we had three families. We were all good friends, the Smiths and the Asks and the Oaks. We're at a family retreat out at Rock Creek Ranch, and we were in a camper, and we had sixth grade boys, and we were saying, what are we going to do with our boys to send them to high school? And we had a vision for what a high school ought to be, and I think all of us had a really great high school experience ourselves, and we had envisioned that and wanted to see our sons and daughters have that same experience, and one that was really Christ-centered. I think that was really at the point of everything. So we agreed to pray every day. We agreed to meet weekly and to see what God would have for us. And this was in October of 1992. Over the next 4 or 5 months, we prayed, we met. It was interesting, we met about March 1st of 1993 as families, and we said, you know, Lord, in the next 30 days, you really just have to tell us we should move forward or stop. We've done everything we can do. A couple of weeks later, we got a call from Central Christian Church, their elder board, and they called us in. They questioned us extensively about our vision for the school. And at the end of that, they said, we've had an elderly family come to us and give us 20 acres specifically for a Christian high school. We're not going to do a high school, so we're going to give you that land. It was worth $500,000. We literally sat there and wept. So June of 1994 rolled around, and we had some money in the bank. We had a great faculty. Central Community Church had given us space to have the school in. So we were all set up and ready to roll. We only had one problem: we had no students. We literally had, I think, 8 or 9 students signed up to come to the school. Anyway, we tried to figure out how do we get some more students. We wanted to shut the project down at that point in time. Fortunately, we had 3 older mentors: Marvin Martin, George Fouché, and Glenn Zumwalt. And so in their very astute way, they said, well, did God give you the $500,000 piece of land? Yes. Did he give you $500,000 in cash? Yes. Did he provide you with a great faculty and a great place to have the school to begin? Yes. So you're just going to walk away from that? We said yes. And just very quickly, they just turned the tide for us. So
they encouraged you to pray.
Yeah. So once again, they said, well, how many students do you want? We said 80. And we really need 80 to make the numbers work. And they said, well, how many do you have to have? And we figured around a little bit and said, we've got to have at least 40. And they said, well, how many do you think we ought to pray for? So we said 60. Now remember, we had 8 or 9 students at this point in time signed up, and this was June. We were opening the doors in August. So we all agreed that we'd all pray and see what God would have for us. And 2 months later, we opened the doors with 61 students. So our first year we had 61 or 62 students. Second year we had 90. Third year we had 120. Fourth year we had 150. So the school grew rapidly, and it was thriving. With 150 students, 160 students coming into the church every day, we were disrupting their activities, and we really needed to do something different. So we began to raise money to build a new school. Now remember, God had given us just 20 acres of land, so we called in a Christian school consultant to help us figure out what it should look like, where the building should be, etc. And we took him out to the land and drove around that, and just within about 15 minutes he said, I hate to tell you this, but this is not the place. It's not big enough. It's in an industrial part of town. It's not in a residential part of town. and he had a number of reasons why we shouldn't do that. So about that time, we had knowledge of 80 acres that was for sale on East 21st Street. And this was before K96 had been announced and coming through the city. So we really liked the land, and we bought that 80 acres where we are today. So we began to raise money, and we worked hard for about a year, and we'd raised $300,000 of the $3 million. And we just were wondering once again if we should move forward. I think we had strived to raise the money ourselves, but as we figured out it wasn't going to happen by our efforts, we really gave that back to God, and within a few months we had a couple of donors step forward and give us $3 million.
The first day of school at the new building was very exciting. We had all the students at the front door, and we had the student leaders there to cut the ribbon and say a prayer of dedication. And then all the students came in, and to see their faces. And you know, we weren't, we dreamed that we would get a new building someday, but never did we think in 5 years we would be in a new building, never. And here we were at God's provision and God's timing, entering a new building. But it still wasn't the building. It was the students and the faculty and the parents, and just again to celebrate God's faithfulness, that we had come together, and the excitement was amazing to celebrate God's faithfulness together, and again to see God at work. It was.
When I think of the Trinity story, it's a script that nobody could write other than God. It's really God's story. And I think it's a story of people it's a story of people coming together prayerfully to see God work. It's a story of a story of great community. It's a story of people coming together around a cause that's bigger than all of us, and to see God show up and work in miraculous ways is amazing.